Hi everyone, and welcome to The Space Between. Today is my very first podcast number 1. My name is Dave Fry, and I'm very excited about the unknown. I want you to know that I don't know the answers. I do know, from my personal experience, the possibilities. Today, I have the honor in speaking with
Malachy Peter Anthony Donaghy.
What?
Donaghy.
Donaghy.
Please join Mal and I as we explore what shows up for us in this conversation to support those who find themselves seeking new insights into how our thinking works. Also, for those lost in a sea of confusion, despair, grief, anxiety, depression, and possibly hopelessness. What I hope for is that you resonate with something beyond our words, a feeling from within yourself that reminds you of your innate well-being. We'll give a shout out. Do they say shout out still anymore?
Yeah, I think so. Well, I'm 45, so they do in my world.
Okay. We should give a shout out to Heartfelt Presence, which is on Facebook, and say that it's an open forum for anyone in the entire world to go there if they want to listen or share in whatever they're experiencing life, if they're suffering in any form or fashion, whatever that word means.
Yeah, it'll be listened to.
They'll be listened to.
Yeah.
So you've been on it for a while now. How did you come across Heartfelt Presence?
It's actually Claudette. Claudette sent us the link and introduced me to it. And I jumped on, not straight away. I jumped on after a while because I was quite nervous about the unknown, like who would turn up, who wouldn't turn up, sitting there by myself, or there could be too many people and I could be stressed out by that. But something just flipped and I went, you know what, I'm in. So I joined and I think the first week, looking back, I think I had a couple of people join. I had some really pleasant conversations, which I can't remember now. I can't remember the topic, but just from the words heartfelt, it was heartfelt. It was lovely. You could just share with somebody that you don't know at all, but have that connection with. But I was back on it today. I did my slot today. 2 people turned up today. We talked about all sorts. We also talked about my new invention that came to me while I was sleeping. I was having a little bit of a crazy dream off slippers, which I was wearing in my dream, but they were broken because the music wasn't coming through to my ears correctly, so they were obviously broken. But I adjusted them and the music started flowing in my ears again, and I woke up and I thought, what was all that about? What was all that about? But it came from the exact same place as where our problems come from. They come to us in the same way. They come to us via thought, and it was just really, it was really interesting to know how crazy that story was about these slippers that made music. But very similar to me, and this is true, joining a meeting tomorrow morning where I don't really know the outcome, and there's a little bit of worry going into it. But the story about the slippers just allowed me to see that they were both the same, and they were both funny stories that I was making up in my head. So that's what I shared on Heartfelt this morning. I have no idea what people thought of me. They did log off very quickly, which was strange. But yeah, anyway, that's Heartfelt. Brilliant it is.
So I'm honored that you're here. I'm honored that you're able to talk with me. I appreciate that. And it's not really about me asking you questions. It's really about sharing an understanding that has helped me tremendously, and obviously it's shifted your life in some form or fashion because um, you are a different conversation. So can you
Yeah.
tell me about the a different conversation?
So where that came from. Um, so very, very briefly, I started looking into self-help and the power of a human being uh, when I was probably about 18, and it was actually via a hypnotist. I seen a show and I just thought that's amazing. What's going on there? Like, and it seemed to me at the time like manipulation, but it was very, very funny because the hypnotist was making someone do, funny stuff like barking and, all that sort of stuff. And I just knew there was something in the mind that was quite amazing that it could create that that story. So fast forwarding a few years, and the hypnotist was Paul McKenna. A few years later, I heard he was doing a weight loss seminar, um, so I attended it. Spoke to one of the helpers, one of the ladies there at the time, and she said to me, "How come you're here? Because you don't need to lose weight." And I probably didn't then. I might now, but that's another story. Uh, and I said, well, I'm just really interested in what he's doing and how he's doing it. And I just thought if I expose myself to it, I might learn something. And she said, you need to look at NLP. Anyway, jumped into NLP. Um,
Can you say what NLP is for me?
it's a neuro linguistic programming. And basically, what that is in a nutshell to me, it's copying excellence. So it's seeing something amazing and copying it. There is a lot more to it. There's a lot more to it, and there's loads of different strands. Um, it could help individuals with phobias, um, you know, stage presence, earning more money, all sorts in it. And it's very lights, camera, action. There's a lot going on, and I can really, I look back and I can see why I was really attracted to it, and I can see why others are attracted to it still. Um, so I done my practitioner, and I done my master practitioner, and I done a business practitioner, and I done speed reading, and I did an amount of hypnosis work. But there was just something that didn't sit right for me personally. It was a bit clunky, the learning. It was all about how to change your environment um, to make yourself feel better or to experience something different. So it was very outside in, the way I seen it. Anyway, I didn't know any better, so I continued looking for my NLP fix, and there was a chap advertising an NLP half-day session in Heathrow, about an hour away from me, 40 minutes away from me, for £50, something like that. So I was like, I'm in. I'm going to spend more money, and I'm going to get more NLP, and I'm going to love it, because that's what I could see. Anyway, I went to this half-day event in the morning, and I experienced some more NLP, or at least what I thought was NLP. And it was part of me going, oh, this is very different, but there's something NLP about it, And it was a chap called Jamie Smart, who was a master at NLP. Now, I ended up working with Jamie, signed up for some of his courses and that, and very quickly, literally before I signed up, I realized that it wasn't NLP. It was a lot more heart centered. It was a lot more feeling. It was a lot more truth involved in it. I didn't really understand what it was, but there was just something in there that wasn't manipulative of other people or my circumstances, i.e., my happiness, my health, my wealth, my life. it wasn't dependent on anything on the outside. You know, it was all in me, is what I thought at that time. It was all in me, like my heart. I would physically point to my heart and go, no, it's in me, this amazing. Anyway, moved on, worked with Jamie, worked with other coaches as well. Ended up, my last training actually was with Amy on the Little School of Big Change. And I don't know, it just brought a little bit of ease to my life. It brought a little bit of like less worrying. It brought a little bit of less subscribing to the worrying. So I might have still some feelings that in the past would have upset me or confused me or stopped me in my tracks. But I never subscribed to the outcome of them. I would be able to see them for what they are and move on. You know, it allowed me to move on through my life. It allowed me to do things that I hadn't done before. It allowed me not to worry about outcomes. Now, it's not all the time. You know, sometimes I do still get caught up. But now it's like my recovery rate is so much quicker, so much quicker, you know, and I can look back and I can nearly laugh about what's just happened and also see how amazing it was that I had this ability to create them stories, you know, to create all of this. And then it got me thinking about what else I can create. You know, what would it be if I didn't subscribe to the outside in nature of life, which we're all part of. So yeah, in a nutshell, because that's probably, you know, that's 27 years there of from seeing that hypnotist to today. That's 27 years, and I would say it's probably the last 8 years that I started to see difference. I started to see what was possible, you know, and it's helped me tremendously in my work as well. You know, I'm a lot more calmer at times. Sometimes I'm not, but I don't beat myself up. However I am, you know, yeah, that's it.
There's so many things you said in there that's just stunning, fascinating. I love it, and I can feel the heartfelt presence in it. You know, I'm using their logo, but
it's a perfect phrase.
It is a really good phrase, definitely. And I love the fact that there's an allowing, like you said, there's that. And if you could expand on that, I mean, you're allowing what exactly? You know that thoughts are going to show up. You know that, like even you said about this meeting that's coming up tomorrow. You've felt something about that, like a tinge, like a thought of worry, but there's something about this understanding that you're sharing in a different conversation that's helping people see past that in some way.
Yeah, most definitely. So I didn't quite answer your question about a different conversation, caught up in the moment, which I'm allowing myself to do more and more, by the way. I'm not getting too caught up on specifics. But so first of all, just to answer about the different conversation, it just was a phrase that seemed to keep popping up time and time again. You know, I work with a really good friend of mine called Mandy Spray, and we would have loads of conversations, and it was like we were always pointing someone or people to a different conversation first. So we weren't talking about psychology or anything like that. Or, you know, this is the way I feel it went anyway. It was more like listening to people talking about the same thoughts going through their head. And there was never, like, not all the time, but people would just cycle through the same sort of thoughts always the same sort of thoughts, and the problem, even if they were to see like a quick fix out of it, sometimes that problem would come back and still be a problem for them. It was a lot going on for that person or them people. So we used to chat, and it used to be, do you know what they need? They need a different conversation. They just need to talk about something different. And it wasn't to ignore what they were talking about, because that's very important to them. That's their story. That's what keeps it going. But we just wanted to say, what about if you look over here? What about if we just have a different conversation? So, how would that be? So we invited people to have a different conversation, and it's a bit gimmicky. But again, like heartfelt presence, it just seemed to encompass what we were trying to do at that time. And we've moved on a little bit from there. We do different things now. But we didn't want to talk about the same problems. We didn't, I'll talk about me actually, because it wouldn't be fair to keep saying what Mandy was thinking. But I didn't want to have a conversation with someone and delve right into their past and try and analyze it. I just didn't see the point of that anymore. Whereas in the past, I used to, when I was having my NLP conversations, like it would be great to find something in the past and try and change it to see if we could get a different outcome for the person. Now, I've got no problem with NLP still. Like some parts of it I love. I think are very clever, especially the all different parts of it. But we wanted to talk about how the outside world wasn't having. It didn't have to control their lives. Your past didn't have to control your life. Your future didn't have to control your life. But also, and quite importantly, we weren't trying to change the way people were thinking. We weren't trying to change people's thoughts. We weren't trying to take that away from them. We weren't doing any of that. We were sort of like, we were just pointing to something a little bit different, and we were giving them. It's like we were giving people like a description of how their thoughts were working. And sometimes, when you know how something works, you can, different language, German. I can't speak German, but if I knew how the German language worked, it would be a hell of a lot easier for me to live in Germany, for instance. Or if I knew how a car worked, like an engine, I could probably fix it, but I don't. So it's quite difficult for me. So it's a similar type of way for that. And when we start to see how our thoughts work, sometimes life becomes easier, because we just interact differently. I still don't know if I've answered the question, Dave, but
I don't want to stop you, Mal. I mean, what you're saying is fantastic. I love it, and I agree with you 1,000,000%.
Yeah, we were seeing, like one of my first conversations, and the bloke that I was talking to in this conversation lets me share this story. So I was asked to talk to someone on confidence, and it was very early on in my a different conversation career, and thoughts did into my head. It was going, I don't know anything about confidence. I don't know. So, but do you know what? There was something inside me that said, do you know what? Just sit down with the guy, just have a chat. And I had a chat with the guy, and he's a really nice fella, like quite a big lad, worked out. And in my head, I couldn't get why he wouldn't be confident just looking at him, because I was still working from the old paradigm. I was seeing confidence. I was seeing muscles. That was my idea of, looking at someone. Anyway, he shared his story, and he shared lots of things I won't go into now. But at the end of it, he pulled back his sweatband, and there was light cutting on his wrist. And in that moment, I got a little bit worried. I was out on my depth. That's how I felt. But very quickly, for some reason, I just started talking about life and about interactions with one another, and I suppose we had a heartfelt connection of, and he could see truth in what I was saying. He could see truth that his problems weren't coming from the outside. He could see truth that that there was a little bit of hope to get through what he was doing. Um, anyway, the conversation ended, and I really had no idea what was going on, because we don't know what's happening with other people. You might get a few cues, but you don't really know what's happening with other people. Um, so I was for a week. I was a little bit worried. I was thinking, God, I hope he's all right. Anyway, I actually sent him a text message and I said, "How you doing?" And he was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Like I've quit my job. Like I'm back into my sports and stuff like that." And immediately I'm going, "Oh my God, it was his boss that asked me to speak to him, and now he's quit his job." And I still was having all of this thinking going on. And then I said to him, I said, "Well, what about your cutting?" I said, "How are you with that?" He said, "You know what, Mel?" He goes, I don't I don't cut myself anymore. I don't see that makes sense anymore." And it was like a moment of, oh wow, it's amazing. He's seen something different. So at the time he was cutting himself, and I don't profess to know why or anything like that, but it made sense to him, I suppose, was the point. It made sense for him to cut himself. Um, and then all of a sudden, just by hearing some different words and some, I suppose it was a new perspective at that time, you know, but he heard some truth in it. And at a certain point, he was just like, "It doesn't make sense." And that was what he said to me. He said, "It doesn't make sense to me anymore." Um, so it's quite amazing and quite rewarding, for me, for him, for you. I know some of your stories, which I'd love to hear about. Um, but it just started like that. You know, like you can share information with someone, and when you're doing it from a heartfelt place, they start to see a little bit of a difference. You know, um, so yeah.
Yeah, that's an incredible story for sure. I mean, I love how you're saying that that there's a story, and that we all have these stories, and it's so funny to break down what a story means. Really, for him, uh, the story made sense. Like you said, and there was a misunderstanding in a way that this was going to benefit him in some way, that he was going to experience
Yeah,
a comfortable feeling by being
yeah,
uncomfortable. I think I don't know. I'm
yeah. I'm not
trying to
even sure, but yeah,
not trying to speak for him, but but then a new story showed up that was from you, that was saying, hey, maybe these stories are really an illusion in some way. And so
yeah,
uh, what you're sharing is really powerful. And just it really is a different conversation because of our global culture of these conversations are are not in the mainstream.
uh,
We can have a million reality shows, but they don't discuss some of these really heartfelt moments in people's lives where they are suffering, and they don't know how to express themselves. They don't know how to share it with other people. I mean, especially, it's amazing what you said, and I agree with you. You see a big guy like The Rock, you think that guy he
he's
can
got it
wear
sorted.
any
Yeah,
clothes he wants. He can do whatever he wants to. He can go wherever he wants to, because he has dedicated his life to um, being physically fit. There's a dedication there.
mm,
There's an every single day, whether you like it or not. And so you would think, well, with that kind of energy, that determined energy, how could a person like that not have confidence? And yet you and I know from talking to many, many people that that's not the case. They're, we're experiencing our thoughts as they show up. Some of them seem real, especially the ones that are doubting. Some of those doubting thoughts seem really real, like those thoughts are pointing back to us. They're telling, a thought shows up that I'm not good enough. It seems so real to certain people, and they're
Dave, I'm not being rude. I just want to read something on my phone,
go
and
right ahead.
I've read this twice today to people because it just really feels very true for me in a minute, and it's probably from a chap you know as well, and I'm going to pronounce his name wrong, so if he ever hears this, I'm going to apologise, but it's Dominic Cavidi, brilliant guy. You are never dealing with a problem, only beliefs and assumptions. And I've read that a few times. You're never dealing with a problem, only beliefs and assumptions. That really hit me because it's true. We walk into situations, or rather, my meeting, for instance, I have so many assumptions about how that will go, and when I let them run away with me, like, first of all, I'm turning up at work. The next thing, I'm on the dole and I'm losing my job, and I'm on the street and there's all sorts going on. Literally just from that one thought, it can go so far. But when I start seeing it as a belief or an assumption, I can start seeing it for what it really is. I can see that I don't need to take that story any further. Or actually, that's even the wrong way to say it. I can see that naturally that story stops. It comes to an end because I don't see that as true anymore. I don't see my thoughts as true. It's like I don't give them the time to develop and cause me real problems. And that's a natural thing now. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I get caught out by it. But as I said earlier, it's the recovery rate that really it's a hell of a lot quicker for me. And that's what I know to be 100% true all of the time. So what we're talking about here is always true. It's like gravity. It's always true. However, because our thought system and because it's so cool and creative, like it catches us out so many times. It's as Jamie would say, it's the best special effects department in the world. You're watching telly and you might cry, or you might get scared, or something like that, and you're watching telly, so that it's not real. It's a box in a corner, or a box on your wall with lights and sounds coming from it, but you still experience all the emotions, and feelings, but we know it's not true. It would be like having watching a robbery take place on the telly and picking up the phone to the police and say, there's a robbery in progress, there's a burglary happening, you better go, someone's now been killed. You just wouldn't do it because you sort of like, that it's not real. But to experience life in all its glory, we allow that to happen. And that's why we have feelings, I guess. That's why we have different emotions, so that we can experience everything that's on offer to us. But now we can experience it without it affecting us all the time. And I always put that last little bit in, that all the time, because sometimes it will, and that's okay. Even my different scenarios of what's going to happen in a meeting or in some sort of encounter, all them scenarios are okay. All them scenarios come from the same place as my slippers that play music in my ears. What's all that about? Makes no sense, the slippers, does it? Although it could be a really good idea, it could be a great idea, but in my sleep, as I'm having these thoughts and feelings and dreams, as we call them, or daydreams, as some people call them as well. It was so real. Like these slippers are playing music. I wake up, I dismiss it because I know it's the same thing as like having a meeting or an encounter. Comes from the same place, same source.
I mean, that is truly brilliant. It really is. I hope people can resonate with that, because that's so amazing to think. Like the television, we know. I mean, I love the fact that people will pay $25 to go see a movie, to sit in a comfortable chair, eat popcorn, and now they're recliners. They're not even. They're not the. It's just insane. So, but they'll go and they'll pay a lot of money to sit there, and they're paying for the experience. They want to feel something.
Scared, happy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they'll go and they'll pay $25 to be scared out of their minds. It's like, isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
I mean,
brilliant.
And yet when we get a scary thought in our own heads, we think, oh my gosh, I'm broken for having that scary thought. There's something wrong with me for having that scary thought.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing is we don't need to fix it. We don't need to try and think happier thoughts. We don't need to mess with what's going on, because what's going on is very, very natural. If we see something scary, we're going to have a scared thought, but we don't need to try and fix it. But if we understand how we work, if we start to understand how thoughts and feelings work, sometimes it might create a different outcome for us. It might make life a little bit easier for us.
A little bit easier, or a lot easier.
Yeah.
This understanding is incredible.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah. It's insane how much. I mean, especially the more I get into it, I mean, this is like daily, every single day, there's more and more insights. And how would you describe an insight? I mean, is it an understanding, like the guy that was cutting himself, that he just started to experience something different? I mean, what about?
Yeah, I guess for me, like, I used to try and get clever with the words, and I still do, but like an insight, a sight from within, but for me, they just seen a glimpse of something different. There was just that little, I don't know, that little nugget, that word, that space between what was going on, that there was just something where they dropped their current belief and allowed a new thought in, and that gave them an insight into something new. That's the way I see it. And my description of that, if you ask me in 2 weeks' time, would change. But right here, right now, like you just, I don't know. It's like we let our guard down a little bit. It's like we let our guard down from who we believe we are. Because if someone tells you you're broken, or you have something going on, there's a possibility that you can start to really believe that. You can start to play the part. Like the guy who was cutting himself, like he was not confident at all. That's where he started off with. So he really identified with not being confident. And at a certain point, like, he didn't believe that anymore. He didn't believe that label, that, I don't know where it came from. We blame the outside, we blame, TV, schools, whatever it is, but he's seen something, that space between it just allowed something in, so that was his insight, and an insight for me. I don't think I've ever had like these amazing insights, like, but I know that I've had loads and loads and loads of little ones. Every single day you just see something new. As a coach, and you'll know this, you can sit in front of someone and you just know already that they're not broken. There's nothing wrong with that person. They have the ability to see something new in any moment. It's a thought away. Quote from a book which I cannot remember the name of for the life of me, but it's only a thought away. Change is only a thought away. To me, that's an insight.
At one point, I considered my discovery of my misunderstanding to my understanding to be this giant insight, and the reason why I considered it giant was because prior to this understanding, I didn't know what an insight was at all. So for me, I called it ginormous because it was going from a misunderstanding to an understanding, and for anyone experiencing that under any circumstances, it's pretty powerful. But I agree with you. I agree with you completely. It's the little, like, not little. It's not a description of size. It's just it's an awareness of something that I wasn't aware of 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And those little insights, again, I don't know why I'm calling them little, but I should say they're more frequent instead of one big one. There's just more insights all the time that
every day,
so welcoming.
Yeah, every day in our life, like before I knew anything about this, I already knew about this all my life. I just wasn't aware of it, So I've been having insights. Yeah, it's so true. You look back and you see you see parts of your life that you may have just understood something a little bit better. It was an insight. We've had this ability all our lives, and I think sometimes we forget. We forget when we were younger how we used to learn, how we used to play, all that sort of stuff. We do forget it, and now I wouldn't be saying to someone in front of me, look for the insights. It's not about getting the insights. It's not about trying to create an insight. It's more about just, I don't know, maybe the awareness. Like I think you used that word a minute ago. It's the awareness of the way we work. It's creating that space. It's taking time for yourself, maybe just to stop, take stock, maybe. It's not about taking any part of you away, but sometimes it's just letting some new information in, and then maybe some parts may drop away naturally. Some of them beliefs that may be holding you back. We all have beliefs that hold us back on a daily basis. And this isn't like this isn't just going to cure everything, but it is the answer to everything.
And I like what you said earlier about allowing things to go through. So, and like you said, doesn't happen all the time, but there are moments when there is this natural allowing. I'm not flipping a switch and allowing things to go through. I'm not doing anything, but there's a natural flow to everything. And when we get a chance to actually see how our thoughts show up, and they show up, one shows up and it moves down the line, and then another one comes down the river. And when we start to recognize that these thoughts are just blips of energy, and we can see them move through, the allowing is like we are observing. I wish we had a social experiment. Okay, this is what I want you to do. All right, I want you to look down at your mouth right now and just know that whatever shows up out of your mouth, they're just thoughts. They're just words. They're just showing up right now. This is what they are. Do they mean anything? Who cares? It's fun. It's a fun conversation. It's so powerful. I know so many people have benefited from this conversation. And so what are your plans right now with a different conversation? Are you on social media?
Yeah. I'm on Facebook and all the usual. But what I'm starting to do now is And I don't know how long this will last, but I've decided in February, every Wednesday between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. UK time, GMT, it's going to be an open Zoom room. And hopefully people might have the idea just to stop by, even if they want to come on and just listen. You know, they don't need to show their face, they don't need to speak, or they can. You know, it's literally open. It will just be like having a chat. And if somebody hears something they like, great. You know, that's literally the next thing I'm doing at the moment.
That's fantastic. I truly appreciate that. And it's going to be so helpful to so many people. It really is. You and I are both coaches, and yet, you know what? These conversations help me tremendously.
Yeah.
They're mind blowing.
All I was going to say is, like, if anybody's worried about coming into the room, all I can say is don't be. Just give it a go. You know, just drop in. And there are plenty of people doing this as well. So if you feel you need any help at all, let's see where it goes. You know, because it can have an amazing effect on people. It really can. That's gospel.
Anything you want to say? Anything you want to in this podcast, the very first podcast of The Space Between?
It's been fun.
It has been fun. And you know what's amazing about it is that we did not plan this out. We let things show up. And it's not even letting. You and I know that. It's not letting. It's just being
just unfolded.
It's just being present and knowing that things will show up because they always do.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
All right, Mal, thank you so much. Take care.
You take care, man.
All right.
Am I hanging up now?
Am I hanging up?
No, you hang up.
Okay, you hang up. Okay, I'll hang up. Here we go.
Man. Take care, yeah?
All right. Bye.
See ya. Bye-bye. Tell
me what I can't see you right now, but tell me what you think about this. So, you know, all these podcasts starts off with...
you can't see me at the moment.
No, but it's still...
Sorry. No, it's fine. I got you.
You keep your clothes on.
All of them. Well, most of them.
Wait a minute.
Oh.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. That's
yeah.
True. Yes. All right. So.
Oh my gosh.
Who knows what goes on up there?
Love it. Yeah. We can go back to the other one now if you want.
I've deleted
now
it.
that you've figured out your bloody...
Isn't that great?
That's
are
so
we
funny.
Recording this? Or
we are recording this. And
wait, am I recording it or are you recording it?
Oh, I'm glad we're breaking the ice for using the Bible and religion as a starting point.
Yeah. That was ridiculous.
That's so
what
funny.
What the hell? All right, I'm ready. Let's do this. I'm so excited. And you go...
24 hours early.
You're 24 hours early, my friend.
Have you been waiting since, or?
I have been right here.
Oh, good man. It's dedication.
Thank you. Thank you.
You want to be a podcaster?
Yeah. Cut.
What?
Love it.
Exactly.
That one. Or are we here to talk about?
No.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Yeah. Yes. All right. So. So 20.